Okay, so welcome to our back porch poetry playhouse in beautiful Positas. So thanks to everybody for coming. And this will be on our YouTube channel. And we've got two great poets tonight. We'll be starting with Kevin Zepper, followed by Megan Baldrige. So I'll be introducing each of them before they come up, and then make sure you check out their books as well. And then we'll have some Q&A afterwards. So Kevin Zepper, I was just saying, he lives in Moorhead, Minnesota. You know where that is. Up on the top, just across from Fargo. It's right at the North Dakota, Minnesota border up there. So he is an instructor at the Minnesota State University Moorhead. And he's here driving with his wife, Brenda, and two of his children. And so they're here visiting. And it's a real pleasure to schedule a reading to have three kids. Okay. There's three kids. So, and actually, I did not know Kevin in Minnesota. I knew Kevin after I moved here through Lisa Gill. And Kevin knows Lisa. But so we've become good friends just because of our Minnesota connection and our poetry connection. And we have also published Kevin's book, Moonman, through the Poetry Playhouse, which is out there. And Kevin is the author of several poetry chapbooks, including his book-length collection, Moonman. His most recent publication is titled The Shaman Said, from Nat One Press, published February 2023. And then for the past 5 years, he has been a visiting poet and judge for the Poetry Out Loud initiative in North Dakota, visiting rural community high schools. In the spring, he joined the Poetry Out Loud initiative in Minnesota. He's also a semi-professional photographer, having his work in local art galleries, published in a small press magazine, and he's also a TV film actor, represented by Natalie Sparrow Management in Fargo. So, yay. All right, well, let's welcome Kevin.
Here, everybody. Thank you. You're not going to be clapping when I start reading these poems.
And you can just, you're on right there.
Oh, there I am. All right, so I know we have 20 minutes, so I'm going to try to do sort of a Ramones type thing. They were a punk rock band. They did these very short, they did their songs a 2-second break and they kept going. So I want to keep the pace going pretty good so you get a lot, because you paid to come in. So I want to give you a bargain. All right. So I'm going to start out with a poem from the Shaman Said, the most recent book that Jules had announced. I'm very thankful for the group of folks that published this, and Nat One Press is an independent press, not unlike Poetry Playhouse and Jules Press, except they're up in Maine, so they're swimming in lobsters about now. So the name of this poem is called Treetop Church Bell. Treetop church bell, for the next hour, I reverently request your silence. Please abstain from your clarion call and blessed brick obelisk. Listen with me. The songbirds' rondos, the lush bouquet of songs, the chanting cicadas shaking their shaman's rattles, the cardinals trilling and warbling over tall pines, the choir of excited sparrows, the untimely wind gusts through the lindens, sounding like waves rolling up in a beach cove. Allow the soft sounds of the bamboo and cappy shell wind chimes, your shy cousins, to clink and tinkle for a while. I humbly ask for you to refrain from your refrain, the authority of your loud, ordered tone. Hold it in your proud tower for a while. Allow the voices around you to praise the world. Lose ourselves in the loss of an hour. Thank you. It took about 4 years to figure that one out. Couldn't get that one right. So this is a piece from this book called I Bring You Dead Things, which really is a book of love poetry. And what this is about non-romantic love. So it's like friendship love, familial love, the the love of an activity. And for some reason, I don't know why, but people have started buying it again. I don't know what's in the air in Minnesota, but probably smoke from Canada, but they're buying it. So this is a piece about a young woman I had a crush on back when I was about her age, and it's called Linda Blair. After being exorcised and pronounced a heretic, where can you go? Do you try to find your bread and butter bucks and B movies, recalling past possessions from Beelzebub? Do you try to turn angel and seek that Disney sparkle in a marginal matinee? Do you get married, crank out a few kids, pretending none of the pea soup coughing and neck spinning ever happened? Linda Blair, where have you gone? So the title for this is called I Bring You Dead Things. It's about the idea of somebody going to these extreme lengths to please or to court somebody. And so that's where it comes from. It's sort of like, well, I'll just read the darn thing here. I bring you dead things to show my love for you. A dozen crimson long-stemmed roses bleeding their final sap as you oh and ah, holding them close to your breast. I purchased this mink stole, but would have stolen it for you, propped in a floppy dead man's embrace around your pale porcelain neck. I present to you a present of Chanel 61, the lifeblood of a million petals shed from unsuspecting flowers, snipped in infancy, fleshy petals pressed and mashed, an ounce of musk for you. And if you'd ask for my heart to hold forever, I'd give it to you with open joy, last beat and pulse, lovingly pumping on a sterling platter. So I've never read this one publicly before. So I'm going to read this now. So it's, what do you call it? Catharsis when you deal with things. And this is from Moonman. And it's available for sale in that other room there. So just to let you know. The writing prompt. As a writing prompt in our creative writing class, the instructor tells us to share a secret with everyone around the thick oak library table for a possible future writing assignment. When my turn comes, I tell about stealing $1 from my mother's purse, spending a quarter, and putting the remaining 75 cents in my sister's top dresser drawer, then ratting her out to mom. It's a lie. Alice Cooper told this story once in an interview. What I really want to share is how week after week, I keep talking myself out of suicide. There are so many ways to do myself in, a sharp knife across the wrists and a warm tub of water, or maybe a serrated edge to tear up the veins. I've nearly settled on a fistful of antidepressants and a fifth of cheap whiskey. I've been that close, weighing life that whole long night, standing on the tight precipice of to be or not. When morning came and I was still alive, I decided to be. The punchline, I need to show up for class, something to keep me moving forward, mostly. Somehow my voice matters here. My writing matters. But the class is not ready for this secret. So I lie to you about stealing $1 from my mother's purse when I was little and how I tried to blame my little sister. All right, let's see here. Something light, something not so. This is called ghostwriting, and this is for a poetry person back in Minnesota. And you're going to have to prompt me on time because I'm not into time. I'm in the zone. So Thank you. So this is ghostwriting, and this is, I don't know, it's part of the process I use, I guess, in a metaphorical way. He hung blank sheets of paper on the refrigerator, his office door, the clothesline in the backyard, the silver snout of the bathtub faucet, then waited. When he looked closely at the paper, at the right angle, and the proper degree of moderate sunlight, he could see letters, glyphs, words, phrases, whole paragraphs written with otherworldly spectral ink. The first ones appeared on computer paper he left on the clothesline. Outside, there were whirlwinds of words floating around, captured on the paper from lone ghosts and free-floating ideas. He quickly wrote the words down, documenting the date and time of every discovery. He became a new kind of recorder, a reader of invisible words, a word whisperer. He papered up every square inch of his house, even the aquarium and dog kennel. His office walls and windows were wallpapered with spray parchment, all in the hope of capturing words. Finally, he applied yellow sticky notes over every visible portion of his body and closed his eyes. Letter by letter, the words manifested themselves on every sticky note, words from one yellow square colliding with words from another. The creep of caterpillar alphabets crawled over his skin, each manifesting new wounds, new meaning. Thank you. Thank you. I wish I could say I'd be here all week, but I'm not. I'd love to be here all week. This is a piece called English Department because I'm an English teacher. It says so on the door. Above custodian is a custodian sign. So English Department. Some folks refer to our department as the little castle on the quad. When students graduate, they have their photos taken in front of the English department because it looks collegey, sharply contrasting with the other buildings, which look like businesses or banking institutions. From my office, I hear a student tour guide say, "This is where all of the English classes are held, though it's quiet most of the time." After pause, they add, "They say it's haunted." A janitor accidentally hung himself from a thick rope by the stage. They've had Ghostbusters and paranormal types come here to see if they can make contact. The guide chuckles and the prospects laugh and move on to the next apartment building. This is a rare day for me, cleaning up my office. I used to hang out in this building when I was a student when the ghostly haze of cigarette smoke hung in the hallways like vapor sheets and ideas making themselves visible without the aid of device. I am less here, my old haunt, guiding students online at home, a spirit in the machine. In the midst of all these self-truths, maybe a new myth needs to be spun in this quiet keep of stories. Maybe the one about the aged English teacher who was found dead at his desk grading 101 composition papers, but they might see through that one. Thank you. So another new piece, and these pieces here are part of the next collection. I got word from an editor, says they look good to go. They're all in order. So I'm going to be submitting another manuscript after this because you can't sit still too long as a writer or you start to seize up and then and that's not good. This is called Lund, and this is when you get to what they call lakes country in Minnesota, because it's like 15,000 lakes, not 10. Once you get about 45 minutes from Moorhead, there's a lake. And then 5 miles down the road, there's another lake. And along with these lakes are these little teeny towns. And one day I ran across this town. It was the first time. It's called Lund, which is the name of a boat company in Minnesota too, by the way. I wasn't certain if it was the name of the town or the cemetery. Maybe some long ago farmer with the last name donated an uneven section of hard Scrabble at the end of his corn rows. The deal was his family would have this section as a resting place, and the farmer chose their plots. The old oak offered shade where he ate his lunch between planting and plowing. This is where he chose to rest after his long harvest was over. Now and then, the granite occasionally sprouts, always straight like wheat and rows, more or less even. A small little Lutheran church with a four-sided tower, all built years after the cemetery, after the farmer's descendants donated money. It was all Lund, land, cemetery, church. I witnessed this in a matter of seconds to my left at a high curve on the road. Had I looked to my right, none of this would have existed. All right, let's see. We still good? 5 minutes?
Yeah, 5 minutes.
Fine. Let's see here. It's always hard. I don't know. I think I was like trying to channel Charles Simic with this piece because I love Charles Simic. Think he's the first prose poet to win the Pulitzer Prize. The World Doesn't End, I think, was the name of the collection. And this is called Trembling Muse. And I thought, you know, we all have muses, or the muse is always called up. And I thought, what would my muse look like? And I figured maybe this is what my muse might look like. This is called Trembling Muse. I am often in the fragile grasp of a yellow-veiled seraph from the seismic side of heaven, my creative charge. Her paraffin skin glows with light as I suckle from her shy teat, the bitter milk of possibility. Her arms shake and I fall, cold surrounding me, almost hitting the cold concrete floor, but she catches me again by the leg, the arm, genitals, neck, following the customary dislocation. My muse collects herself, gathers me up in her shaking arms, steadiness returning, calm. Hers is a world of seizures, drops and rests, repeating regularly. Between falls, we learn to rise together, jamming bones back into place, sensing greater seizures in the world, always returning. Hey, well, thank you very much. Couple more. Yeah, I don't want to bore
Any
you.
more from Shaman Said?
I'm going to read some from Shaman
Yeah.
Says. That's how I plan on closing it. So again, this book kind of fell together by accident, and now I'm going to do the talk part. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
Oh, I didn't know if that was.
This can't happen
Oh
on
my
this
God.
property. No.
It's really-
So the picture here is of a dock on Lake Atitlan in Guatemala, where the Mayans believe this is the lake of creation. Brenda and I had a chance to spend some time there, and it was a retreat that was put on by my friend Ruth L. Schwartz, who is a certified shaman, and now I am as well. I went through 2-year core shamanism training, and I've done some mediumship and things. And I think for the most part, it's helped focus my creativity and help me go deeper. So, and so the work in here, there's all this kind of that floaty periphery, that kind of like, I don't know what it is. Did I just see that happen? Or so that's kind of the bulk of the poems in here. I'm going to close with 2 poems. So I'm going to read this one, took years to write. Interestingly enough, it was written on another retreat by Ruth. And this is called Rib Cage. Walking down the long, lone road in rural Ohio, eyes adjusting to angles of the shade from old oaks in full sun above golden fields. In a sunny spot ahead, at the edge of the ditch, a piece of rolled brown sod. At first it appears a tangle of willow twigs alongside black earth. Nearing the mound, a dead badger. Nothing to do but stare, mirroring the frozen grimace on the badger's face. Exposed rib cage, glowing white in the summer sun. Each rib curved, symmetrical, smooth, perfect. An empty cage. All the life organs, like brightly colored songbirds, have flown away, returning to the robin's egg sky, a place of cool burrows and clear tunnels. Walking past a dead badger on a rural Ohio road. The songbirds sound so good together. Thanks. This is the last piece, and it was a meditation that kind of fell into place, and it's called The Shaman Said. It's the title of the work. And so I thank everybody for having me here. Thanks, Jules, for putting this together, being such a great supporter, great friends. You know, we hope to be neighbors over there, but we'll leave you alone occasionally. And thanks for all for coming and hearing poetry and supporting this wonderful thing that Jules and John have created. The Shaman Said, first, you must float, Lose the fear of falling to the muddy bottom. Spread yourself on the water. Let it carry you with cool arms after catching you from a fall. The water is your friend, a friend supporting, lifting, carrying, a best friend. You might be tempted to tug at the covers of the water and curl up into a fetal creature, sinking in the encompassing comfort, dreaming till you drown. Resist. You're resting on the water, a silky membrane covering your back. Relax until you forget the water. Soon the water will forget you. Drift, drift. Let the liquid fingertips brush against your open palms, touching until a thin veil of molecules separate you. You are safe. You are weightless. You are harmonious with the water. Be present to the water, knowing this water will hold you, never harming you, never letting you down. Focus on these things, this path. In time, this will come naturally, anytime you choose, without a boy. In time, you shall walk here. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Kevin. And it's always so nice to be reading outside as well. And the birds were out there joining you too. Yeah. So next up, we have Megan Baldrige, who is a friend and an Albuquerque poet, retired English teacher who has written, and I'm thinking this is up to date, 12 books of poetry published by Poetry Playhouse Publications, 3 of them winners and 2 finalists recognized by the New Mexico Arizona Book Awards. She writes about knitting, gardening, the dog love, and sometimes about the varieties of politics. During the pandemic, you could find her masked, of course, walking in the bosque along the river, muttering, tossing words into the air, trailed by the knitting ball that refused to stay home. Being a parent to a daughter, 3 sons, and a grandparent to 2 granddaughters and 3 dogs, she roots her life in joy. So welcome, Megan.
I brought a book about gardening. I have a lot of ancestors and relatives who bragged about being good gardeners, and that was before I moved to New Mexico. I might have bragged about gardening with them, and then came these chapters of hail and no water and insects and dogs. And so I thought, instead of bragging about gardening, I can write a book and kind of complain about gardening in New Mexico and get some sympathy. So this is the book that I wrote about gardening in New Mexico. This is the first one is Over Elms by June. I've been awaiting you. Okay, so I
gotta
guess
make sure you're on camera. Okay, there you go.
Thanks. I've been awaiting you, dear friend June, you who woo me, make me swoon. Sashay over, show me shimmer. Let's bust hot moves. Let's get glimmer. Give me sun, I'll show you skin. Let's open doors. Stay late, let fresh air in. But I beg you, my promiscuous, permissively pollinating June bug mistress, enough elm mischief. That seedy elm gang has my yard discovered, my just watered vegetables covered by tufts of diaphanous stuff, fluttering in a hover of shifting, grifty, tough fluff. Every June, I'm overwhelmed, unsettled, rattled, locked in battle, not ready to coddle, ready to throttle the elms and you. So, dear June, no more elm pollination nor elm baby procreation. No more elm seeding nor elm feeding. I can't be 24/7, 7 million elm weeding. June, repeat after me. I will no longer reseed the Siberian elm tree. I hope you guys in Placitas don't have any Siberian elms. The skinks. Before the pandemic, I yielded the garden to the lizards and skinks. They in turn politely scurried away whenever I walked outside. But in April, I took it all back. The garden, the back closet, the unfinished mending projects, especially the garden. And the skinks are puzzled when I'm at home at 9 a.m., at noon, at 3, at 5, at 7, wrestling around their tiara. This COVID season, I'm putting more seeds into their turf, taking more weeds out, controlling the garden more. The skinks watch skeptically, making bets on my commitment. They rush off the garden path, give way in false deference. They rustle, swish into shrubbery, skedaddle, sigh more off stage, sashaying away. The lizards know this garden is theirs. When I get the vaccine, I will again occupy the garden part-time. So that is a little dated, thankfully. Thank you. Behind every successful lettuce lives a March gardener who remembered to order seeds, lies an April gardener who remembered to plant seeds, lies a May gardener who remembered to water seeds, lie 1001 weed seeds who bask in the water, ready to knock out the precious, putative, presumptive, pampered pet lettuce. And coneflowers are part of the glory of New Mexico gardening. 2 coneflower tales. Sometimes a purple coneflower waltzes into your life for a few days of extreme flowering in a summer of orange marigolds and red hot pokers. So you can admire the strong, perfect petals, be mesmerized by the splash of fresh color. And number 2, the front yard coneflower and the backyard coneflower somehow picked today to turn up the heat, explode. But how did they tell each other that today was the day? This is a poem about a hollyhock. A dusky purple hollyhock greets me next to the driveway. Its saucer-sized flowers are opening this week, as they were all last week. This wild hollyhock reseated itself in a desert strip of tar surrounded by sand, pushed branches out like a multi-trunked tree. I am a gardener. This wild hollyhock flourishes on my neglect. I am a gardener. I plant, water, tend 4 other hollyhocks limping through July heat. I have wired them against the rabbits, planted them in rich soil, watered, thirsty them. I am a gardener. My flowers are pallid, scrawny, rabbit-chewed. I am a gardener needing to learn the art of not gardening. I took a class a few years ago with Jules in the first Poetry Playhouse in Albuquerque on sestinas, which are 6 lines, 6 words that repeat. And this was this is the lament of the sacred datura sestina. So there's a little repetitiveness about these sestinas, which Jules likes, and I think John doesn't respect as much. And but
just so that I can't do it.
Yeah, see what you
We
think.
have a book too about it.
Yeah, but it gives you guys something to talk about at night, right? My friends called me Jimson Weed. My fans insist I'm royal, a sacred datura. Do not publicize where I live. Allow me to humbly be a virginal blossom basking at sunrise who tries to stay out of the limelight. Georgia O'Keeffe thrust me into limelight. a shy Jimson weed, facing the setting sunset of my own beauty as sacred datura, beloved patroness of a few local bees, a beauty who simply wants to live. I want to live simply out of the limelight and only be a humble Jimson weed, a sacred datura opening gorgeously at sunrise. Idolize me if you must, especially at sunrise when I do my interviews live. Consider me first and foremost datura. And if you insist, I bask in the limelight. Don't call me Jimson weed, rather a diva datura beloved by bees. Who doesn't like to be admired at sunrise? Don't forget that I'm mostly not Jimson weed. I may wilt a bit in the sun, but I'm lively in limelight. My Latin name is Datura rhydi, aka Sacred Datura. That's D-A-T-U-R-A, Datura, of the Sacred Datura family I be, especially lovely in limelight. I blush with my own beauty at sunrise. I look more alive as Datura than as Jimson weed. Remember, it's Datura, not Jimson weed. Beware of how beautiful I am, picked, alive, unpicked. You may paint me, but please only at sunrise or in the limelight. So, let's see. And I think I have two more poems. One is Ode to Last Year's Hose, a poem of appreciation. Last year, flowing with water, a humble hose saved me the Gaillardias and hollyhocks from death by sunstroke. This helpful hose tripped me when I forgot to water thirsty tomatoes, whispered to me at night, mid-garden, up to my bedroom, turn on the faucet, I heard blowing in the wind. When I woke at night, so hot, I dreamt I was chased by fireworks. Last July, my supple assistant worked overtime, uncomplaining of heat prostration, being run over by cars, trapped under rocks, sequestered during rain. This hose coupled well with its faucet, hooked up with a diva nozzle, never minding when the trigger stuck on flood. Underappreciated, overextended, pushed, pulled, stretched, but never laid low by being underfoot. Last fall, this tired hero napped in the corner in the lamb's ear bed in relaxed repose. Yes, last year's hose deserved a retirement on a pedestal in the garage, but unfaithfully, I uncoupled our partnership when I unscrewed last year's hose from the wall and replaced it with this year's hose. I laid last year's hose to rest amid glass shards at the recycling bin on Edith. In a half hour, my betrayed friend disappeared, never again to be fondled by me, Judas. Then I met this year's hose, who insisted I buy its 1-year warranty before it agreed to leave the Lowe's nursery shelf. It refused to be hailed as hose, wanted to be known as Never Kink Max, but sprawled kinkily nevertheless. This year's hose erupted in a geyser on its first day of work, a hot Saturday in June. Was the leak from heat or having to work weekends? This disobedient hose refused to lie flat, didn't like the faucet, and wanted to hook up with whom it wanted to hook up, but definitely not with last year's nozzle. My lawyer advises I go no further with this poem of defamation about this year's crappy, low quality, trumped up hose. And I have one about insects and actually one about a frog. Let's see, where's the insect one? Here's the one about the frog. My desert toad. In the desert where I live, buried under an iris bed, a toad awaits birth. Desert toads estivate, bury themselves during summer heat to emerge from wet dirt after it rains. They will never be famous like Basho's frog, whose haiku splash, the plop of frog into pond, is still heard around the world. After it rains, my toad surfaces to look for a slick of mud, some flies, a damp place to call home. He hides from me, so I cannot write a haiku immortalizing his soundless jump into cracked clay. And where is the poem about the insects? Because I think my overwhelming experience of gardening is insects, is working with, oh, okay. The squash bug battle played out in heroic scale in my backyard. The squash bug squadron just flew into town unannounced, apparently summering in my garden again. I each enjoy the same real estate, which I believe to be my garden, not theirs. I outnumbered practiced dominance with scissors and hose during morning meet and greet sessions. You know how it goes with hillbilly neighbors. The summer population grows exponentially every half hour. The survivors feed, fatten, thicken, procreate as I wean out their lesser brethren. I try persuasion. Why my garden? Why not Susan's next door? She is not a vigilante. Anyway, don't you need more sleep like the ladybugs? I ask nosy questions. Why so much sex? Too many nymphs is a burden. 20 is okay. 2,002 weeks, totally too many. Have you heard about the lemmings? What happened to them at the cliff when they overdid the kid thing? But squash bugs love their big families. 3 generations gather to eat my delicious blossoms, free range, rent free. The adults play peekaboo, scurry and scamper, dart and dodge. The battalion lines up its eggs, squarely rooted in 16s and 25s on the underside of leaves. I squish those eggs, so easy to destroy, but miss hidden ones becoming nymphs who plummet to dirt when cornered, never give up, without a high-speed chase scene. The nymphs have a moment of transparent porcelain blue beauty when they're a day old, fragile from egg escape. They start dining on my baby blossoms, then turn into the ugliest of all bugs. My squash blossoms die, exhausted, wasted, foreshortened lives, and I grumpily buy zucchini from a grocer. Okay. And that is the story.
Thank you, Megan. All right, let's have a big hand for Megan and Kevin. And we're going to say goodbye to our recorded audience right now. So thanks for joining us.